page. Gazing at Pearl, Hester Prynne often dropped her work upon her knees and cried out with an agony which she would fain have hidden, but which made utterance for itself betwixt speech and a groan. O Father in heaven, if thou art still my Father, what is this being which I have brought into the world? And Pearl, overhearing the ejaculation, or aware that through some more subtle channel of those throbs of anguish, would turn her vivid and beautiful little face upon her mother, smile with sprite-like intelligence, and resume her play. One peculiarity of the child's deportment remains yet to be told. The very first thing which she had noticed in her life was what? Not the mother's smile responding to it, as other babies do, by that faint embryo smile of the little mouth, remembered so doubtfully afterward, and with such fond discussion whether it were indeed a smile. So most babies, the first thing they notice is your face and your facial expression, because you're usually smiling, and they smile back, and you're like, oh my goodness, the first smile, how pretty. Well, Pearl's first smile does not come in response to her mother's smile. By no means. That first object of which Pearl seemed to become aware was, shall we say it, the scarlet letter on Hester's bosom. One day, as her mother stooped over the cradle, the infant's eyes had been caught by the glimmering of the gold embroidery about the letter, and putting up her little hand, she grasped at it, smiling, not doubtfully, but with a decided gleam that gave her face the look of a much older child. Then, gasping for breath, did Hester Prynne clutch the fatal token, instinctively endeavoring to tear it away. So infinite was the torture inflicted by the intelligent touch of Pearl's baby hand. Again, as if her mother's agonized gesture were meant only to make sport for her, did little Pearl look into her eyes and smile. From that epoch, except when the child was asleep, Hester had never felt a moment's safety, not a moment's calm enjoyment of her. Weeks, it is true, would sometimes elapse, during which Pearl's gaze might never once be fixed upon the scarlet letter. But then again, it would come at unawares, like the stroke of sudden death, and always with that peculiar smile and odd expression of the eyes. So since she started smiling, Pearl has been obsessed with this scarlet letter. That's what makes her smile. Not her mom, not the cooing, not talking, but the scarlet letter. And we already know that Hester feels pain every time someone looks at it, but wouldn't it be the worst pain for your daughter to look at your biggest shameful thing and a smile? But as a daughter, that's your mom. And that's her defining feature, right? And it's bright and colorful. So kids like bright things, right? Colors draw in their eyes. Not altogether abnormal, but the mom would feel like it is. Once this freakish, elfish cast came into the child's eyes while Hester was looking at her own image in them, as mothers are fond of doing, and suddenly for a woman in solitude, and with troubled hearts, are pestered with unaccountable delusions, she fancied that she beheld not her own miniature portrait, but another face in a small black mirror of Pearl's eye. It was a face fiend-like, full of smiling malice, yet bearing the semblance of features that she had known full well, though seldom with the smile, and never with malice in them. It was as if an evil spirit possessed the child, and had just then peeped forth in mockery. Many a time afterward had Hester been tortured, though less vividly, by the same illusion. When she looks at at her child, she sees someone else. She had never seen this other person with hatred in their eyes, but she sees someone else, and it's almost like there's a little bit of devilish features in there because it's torture for her. Who would she see in her child?
The baby daddy.
The dad. She sees his features, and this would be torture within itself, right?
How old is this kid?
At this point, it's talking about her from the span up until the next chapter. She will be probably an older toddler. But this goes from infant to that. In the afternoon of a certain summer's day, after Pearl grew big enough to run about, she amused herself with gathering handfuls of wild flowers and flinging them, one by one, at her mother's bosom, dancing up and down like a little elf whenever she hit the scarlet letter. Hester's first motion had been to cover her bosom with her clasped hands, but whether from pride or resignation, or a feeling that her penance might best be wrought out by this unutterable pain, she resisted the impulse and sat erect, pale as death, looking sadly into little Pearl's wild eyes. Still came the battery of flowers, almost invariably hitting the mark and covering the mother's breast with hurts for which she could find no balm in this world, nor knew how to seek it in another. At last, her shot being all expended, the child stood still and gazed at Hester, with that little laughing image of a fiend popping out, or whether it peeped or no, her mother so imagined it, from the unsearchable abyss of her black eyes. So not only does she see the dad, but she's thinking that there's this possession because it's something to torture her. And Pearl does kind of torture her mom. Is she meaning it as a torture? No, she's just throwing flowers because some of the things would stick to the scarlet letter because of the material, right? It's a target. So she's playing target practice with her mom's chest, the scarlet letter on her chest.
She's just so obsessed with it because every time she hits it, her mom gives this big reaction.
Yeah. And when you react to something for a kid, it makes it even more.
Why she's doing it. It's like when a child hits you and you're like, ow.
They want to do it again. Yep. But Hester's a young woman and she has no one to tell her stop reacting, and Pearl would give it up. But she's been giving reaction since she was since she was a baby and reaching. Babies reach for things that they find pretty, right? But Pearl is intelligent enough to torture her mom just a little bit, too. "Child, what art thou?" cried the mother. "Oh, I am your little Pearl," answered the child. But while she said it, Pearl laughed and began to dance up and down with a humorsome gesticulation of a little imp, whose next freak might be to fly up the chimney. "Art thou my child in very truth?" asked Hester. Nor did she put the question altogether idly, but for the moment with a portion of genuine earnestness, for such was Pearl's wonderful intelligence that her mother half doubted whether she were not acquainted with the secret spell of her existence, and might not now reveal herself. So her daughter's so smart that, "Are you really my kid? Could you answer me where you came from?" "Yes, I am little Pearl," repeated the child, continuing her antics. "Thou art not my child, thou art no Pearl of mine," said the mother half playfully, for it was often the case that sportive impulse came over her in the midst of her deepest suffering. "Tell me then what thou art, and who sent thee hither." "Tell me, mother," said the child seriously, coming up to Hester and pressing herself close to her knees. "Do thou tell me." "No, but in all seriousness, Mom, where did I come from? Who sent me? Like, what's my background?" We were playing. As you know, when a kid does something wrong, I always say, "Shane, go handle your kids." Like, they're yours, they're not mine. So it's normal to be like, "Are you sure you're my kid?" But Pearl, no longer playing, "No, tell me, Mom, seriously, I want to know." What she's really asking, what's my background? Why do I only have you? "Thy heavenly Father sent thee," answered Hester Prynne, but she said it with a hesitation that did not escape the acuteness of the child, whether moved only by her ordinary freakishness or because an evil spirit prompted her. She put up her small forefinger and touched the scarlet letter. "He did not send me," cried she positively. "I have no heavenly Father." "Hush, Pearl, hush! Thou must not talk so," answered the mother, suppressing a groan. "He sent us all into the world. He sent even me, thy mother, then much more thee. Or if not, thou strange and elfish child, whence didst thou come?" Tell me," repeated Pearl, no longer seriously, but laughing and capering about the floor. "It is thou that must tell me." Okay, Pearl is smart enough to know that talk around town is that she's not a godly child, right? So if other people say, "You've told me all along," I mean, her mom has taught her about God and all of that, but Everyone else says it isn't true, so maybe it's not true. I don't have a dad. And I don't have a heavenly father. And just like Haley said, this gets a reaction from her mom more than her saying, yeah, that's true, Mom. But Hester could not resolve the query, being herself in a dismal labyrinth of doubt. She remembered, betwixt a smile and a shudder, the talk of the neighboring townspeople, who, seeking vainly elsewhere for the child's paternity, and observing some of her odd attributes, had given that poor little Pearl was a demon offspring, such as, ever since old Catholic times, had occasionally been seen on earth, through the agency of their mother's sin, and to promote some foul and wicked purpose. Luther, according to the scandal of his monkish enemies, was a brat of that hellish breed, nor was Pearl the only child to whom this inauspicious origin was assigned among the New England Puritans. So, if her mom knows this is what people are saying, does she not as well? We can't figure out who the dad is. It's been years, and we still haven't figured this out. So, maybe the devil is her dad. Maybe she's a demon offspring. She doesn't behave like a normal Puritan child,
Definitely
which would
Gryffindor.
have consequences. So I am going to post the questions, but I want to read. Let me read a page of the next one, and then I will let you do your questions. Okay? That way we're only a page behind. We'll get caught up by half a page. Okay?